So hello, I'm Yasin from Çuvalladık.biz. It's in Turkish, like fuck up.
Okay.
So first of all, we thank you to let us make this interview.
Sure.
Shall we introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Gilad, and I was entrepreneur. Well, I'm entrepreneur. You never been entrepreneur. You always entrepreneur. And today I'm working as an investment banker, helping the startups to raise money. And I had my own startup in the field of clean tech. We try to change the way that energy is done with vertical axis wind turbines, which means these are turbines that are going this direction and not the regular direction. And the background for that was that we think that energy should be distributed and not centralized. It should be, that means that it should be produced close to where it is consumed. So there is no need in big infrastructure. And of course it's done today with solar panels on the rooftops. But we thought that we can also bring into the mix wind turbines, because there are many places where you have wind, which are kind of urban, suburban, on the outskirts of cities, like stadiums, shopping centers, airports, ports, etc., etc.
For also advertising.
And what we thought to do, as I presented and you saw it, we thought that instead of only cut costs was to add revenues, and that was through advertisement, branding, etc., etc. So the idea was very good. We also thought that the turbine should be very beautiful. So very, very beautiful, not just aesthetic. So we went to one of the best design houses in the world, called Farina, and they helped us to design an amazing, very, very beautiful turbine, which we unfortunately never came to build it. So I think that really our strength was strategic. We thought very strategically. Probably we've been too early in terms of wanting to bring a very new way of thinking to, especially to brands and to conglomerates, because many of them are investing loads of money into sustainability, but actually the consumers do not know that, and that was a very good way to bring that message out. But quite many things went wrong. And, so now let's go to business. So now let's go to business. So I think that if I have to, before I give you the details, if I need to summarize it, I think that most entrepreneurs, me inclusive, underestimate what does it take to build a company. Because there is a huge difference between a very good idea. In our case, it was a huge idea. I mean, the industry is humongous. Some people say it will grow to be $5, $6, $7 trillion per year. It's huge. And I really underestimated, I think, mainly the importance of execution. That's number one. We did know what is our business model. We knew how we want to make money.
So revenue.
Sorry?
So how to make revenue?
That was easy because that could come from we had different models for screens, and we were talking to media companies to cooperate with them, and they were very excited to brand the turbine themselves. So we simply we tripled and quadrupled the cost of the turbine because it made sense, because it brings value beyond the electricity. We didn't look at the electricity unit as the business model, and I think from that point of view that was very correct. But when it comes to the implementation, I was the CEO of the company. I was the founder, the CEO.
Could you also tell about the team?
Yes, and I will explain about the team because that was part of my big mistakes. And what I lacked the capability to implement, just to do things. And one of the functions which you have to have as an entrepreneur is your capability to run a business on a daily basis, which I don't have a patience for. So what you could do, or what I could do, I could bring a strong chief operating officer next to me, or to have a CEO and me going to become a chairman, which is less optimal. The best is to stay as a CEO and to have a very good operational person, which I didn't have. And I think that was one mistake which I did. The other thing which I made a very big mistake from a team point of view is that I collected a team of stars. Instead of building a team in one place of people which are maybe not as glorious as the people that I brought in. I brought some very serious experts in the different disciplines that we needed in that business. People with big names, with amazing background, amazing people, by the way. But what that created, it created a massive culture of very big organization in a startup.
Much work.
Which doesn't work. So that was one mistake. The other mistake is that we didn't sit in the same room. We didn't sit in the same location. So because people, we almost didn't pay salaries, or we didn't pay salaries. We paid very little when we could, when we raised money. So people, there was people who did not relocated themselves. Most people were with families, into their careers, etc. They were not like young guys like you that can go move whenever and however they want. Sorry. And so that was a very big mistake, because I suddenly realized that I built a monster which I cannot manage anymore, because I don't used to manage people, which is another big problem which I personally have, is that I don't know how to manage people. And again, I would have needed someone else to help me with that, which is a problem, because as a CEO you're expected to be the one that manages the team. The other problem which we had is that the technology didn't work. Whoops.
Injury.
So, well, it was a very long story. In the beginning, we didn't have our own technology, and then we managed to. So we outsourced. So we tried to license it, and that was a very big mistake. I mean, in principle, we shouldn't even start with the venture, because you should not start with a venture where you don't have the key components of the know-how in-house. This is a very big mistake. That, by the way, investors today, many of them will not invest in your company if you don't have key components of know-how in-house, because you risk that a third-party supplier will squeeze you. And then we managed somehow to get hold of the technology, and when we tested it, it failed. Now, and there was my next very big mistake, is that when I saw that was failing, I should cut it then and there. Okay, we tried, it didn't work, go home. And I was, now I can say stubborn. At that time I thought that I'm persistent.
The other way around.
Yes. And I found another supplier, which we thought was by far better. And actually, from that point of view, things just went worse and worse. Now, one of the reasons that I wanted to continue was because I felt responsibility towards the investors. People gave me their own money. We had we had more than 20 people, private money, very close relationships. And this is another thing which I learned. I mean, with all the sentiments, and I'm probably too sentimental person. With all the sentiments, if it doesn't work, as tough as it is, you have to cut. Because what happened is that we tried to continue, we gave more hope to our investors, and then also relationship with some of them deteriorated. So I lost some, not only that the business didn't go through, but also I lost some friends because of that. People which I thought that are my friends, I lost for that, and maybe that's for good. But that's in a nutshell, this is the story.
So actually a question also is that did you execute or apply, what you learned, did you learn something? You learn. It's
nothing. You cannot learn from your failure. The only thing which I learned is that I'm not a good operational person, and I shouldn't operate anything. But all these stigmas that you learn from your mistakes, that it's your mistakes are only one stage towards your success. I don't want to use some French words here, but it doesn't work like that. Okay? I don't believe so. I really put everything into this startup, like everything, and I lost a lot, not only financially, but mainly financially, and for me, the only loss that you can have is that if you don't learn and you don't use this opportunity, great opportunity of being in crisis, to learn about yourself and to grow as a person, just to grow as a human being with yourself. This is the only gift and the main gift that crisis can give you. And if you miss that opportunity and you choose, instead of learning and growing and understanding and being in your pain, which is okay, and go through different processes that will teach you about your fears, about your egos. If you choose just to become a victim, then it's a waste of a crisis. It's a waste of a failure. That is my point of view. And honestly saying, you cannot take failures into the next thing that you're doing, because that was very specific segment, very specific situation, very specific timing. Of course, you can take some things with you, but the majority, you just have to leave behind. And this is the big exercise. Just leave things behind. It's okay tomorrow, no problem. I'm trying. It's fantastic. Watch the system, and then you wake up and you restart.
I would like to ask, did you admit that you are not a good manager?
Absolutely. I even wrote about it in LinkedIn. I wrote an article about my failure in LinkedIn, and first of all I wrote it to myself. That's part of my exercise of self-learning. And then I publish it, because if we are hiding things, if we live in a situation that we feel we don't have to share everything. Not necessarily. There are some things which are mine, which are privately mine. I don't want to share it with no one. Okay, but since I feel so free to share that, and I speak about it today with many people in meetings, it creates a completely different communication with other people, because it gives some sort of a base of trust in the conversation and the communication on other parts of the communication. It is what it is. I mean, I tried, I failed, it didn't work, so what? So yes, it's pity. I mean, it's very, very pity in terms of not keeping other people's money. But I know that I acted in 100% a clear conscience and I also lost a lot of my own money. Not that that's the way you should do it, but that's only kind of you know, for my own good feeling, so to speak, that I didn't lose only other people's money, because I feel a lot of responsibility for that. So that's my view on these issues.
So, and lastly, I mean, lots of Turkish entrepreneurs and mostly young entrepreneurs will watch this video. And so, lastly, what would you advise to entrepreneurs and young people who are addicted to creating new things?
What would I advise? I would advise that first of all, one has to really understand whether they are willing to go into a journey which is unknown, which is extremely difficult, which is with a lot of no's on the way, no and rejections on the way, and people really, I feel that there is too much hype around entrepreneurship, and people don't, everyone wants to dare to be entrepreneur. That's the new thing, and the fact of the matter is that there are very, very, very few really, really good entrepreneurs. There are very few of them, and I find it a bit funny that people try to get all kind of inspiration from the top entrepreneurs, the top names. I mean, none of the chances that any of these or the people that watching this will become the next Mark Zuckerberg are probably close to zero, if not zero. Okay, it's the brutal truth, and if you really, really want to try to do that, to push through, number one, you have to be willing to go all the way in. Like, there is no life, and I mean no life, no girlfriends, no party, no drinking, no nothing. You just go and you do, and you dedicate the entire life. That's the mindset. Okay. You dream about it, you wake with it, you go to sleep with it. That's the way it is. So that's number one. Number two, you have to implement. You have to do things. Just don't sit down, and that was one of my biggest mistakes. Forget about planning, forget about trying to learn. Just go and try things. Try and go and see what works, what doesn't work. I many times have more appreciation for some very low-key entrepreneurs that selling some small stuff, trying all kinds of things, just in order to build some small business which is sustainable, and not necessarily going to the big conferences, trying to learn from others. It doesn't work. I cannot teach you almost anything. Each one of us is individual. I can do things the way I can do. Mark Zuckerberg did the things the way he did it. You cannot do it not in my way and not in his way. You have to do it in your own way. You have to learn to get to know yourself, and the self-awareness, understanding yourself is the biggest advice I can give you. Just learn about your limitations, what you are good at, what you are not good at, what you are not good at. Don't try to cover that. Just bring other people that can do what you cannot do, and focus on what you are best at. But what you have to be best at as an entrepreneur is there are no walls. You have a target, go and get it.
So thank you for your opinion.
Thank you.
So see you.
And good luck to you and all the entrepreneurs in Turkey.
Please.